Welcome to Craft Chat Chronicles, the go-to podcast for tips on crafting best-selling fiction. Here at Craft Chat Chronicles, we bring you expert interviews, insights, and tips on writing, publishing, and marketing. Join the conversation and embark on a new chapter in your writing journey. For workshops, show notes, and more information, visit jdmyall.com. That's jdmyall.com.
In Season 3, Episode 3 of Craft Chat Chronicles, myself, as co-chair of the Alumni Association at Drexel, Jamie, who's my other co-chair, and other members of our alumni committee come together to do a chat for current students of Drexel. And Nomi, the program director of the MFA program at Drexel, is there and hosting us. And basically, we're talking about the packet exchange process for the current students and for you guys as well. So if you're interested in how the packet exchange process works between a creative writing student and MFA program and their professor, we give you the download on how it worked for us and give advice to people who are seeking to be in that program or who are currently in an MFA Creative Writing program and want to know more about how the packet exchange goes. So if you're in a program and you're exchanging work with a professor, here are some tips. If you're interested in being a part of an MFA program, here are some tips. And if you just want to hear how our journeys went in this MFA process at Drexel University in Philadelphia, then listen and enjoy. Let's get chatty. Season 3, Episode 3 of Craft Chat Chronicles. I'm going to ask the questions first, but we'll all go around and introduce ourselves. I'm Jamie Crooked. I am, welcome all to the program. Congrats on getting through your first year, just about. And looking forward to talking to you today. Oh, and I live in Haddonfield, which is about 20 minutes outside of Philadelphia, but on the Jersey side.
Also, JD, both of me. I'm in Georgia currently. I came out in 22 with Sweet Jamie, and we are some of the co-chairs of the Alumni Association and stuff too. So hopefully we'll be working with you guys once you finish the process as well.
My name is Monique, but everyone knows me as Mo, and probably if you call me Monique, I would ignore you because I have forgotten that that's my name. But I am alumni 23. So I've said exactly where you are at some point 3 years ago. So I'm excited to talk to you and definitely ask questions.
But I also graduated in 2023. I was going to share my genre of choice, but I don't want to make everyone have to do it, so maybe it'll come out. Anyway, okay, I think it's up to Jamie. So I guess I'll give you guys a kind of a preamble first too. What we're going to do is we're going to go through like 4 main categories. So we're going to go with like how to prep for packet exchange, what it's like working with your mentor, and then what it's like remediating packet feedback, and then beyond packet exchanges. And then after that, we'll do like an outro, and then we'll open up for Q&A. So if you have questions, just like put them or keep them written down or something. So, yep.
Great, and I'm going to start. I put the questions that I'm going to ask in the chat, just so for our visual learners, you can read it, and then we're each going to take 3. So, what should you expect with the packet exchange, and how does the first year differ from the second year? What should you discuss in your first meeting with your packet exchange, and how should you prepare for it? So with your first meeting with your packet exchange professor, usually that's just the get to know you meeting. They'll want to know you. They'll want to know your genre. You should want to tell them your goals from the process, because that'll help them basically focus the program and tailor it more toward what you need, whether you're trying to go into traditional publishing or whether you want to self-publish and own a business, a publishing business of your own.
the more insight they have on what your goals are, the better they'll be able to help you reach them. And how should you prepare for it? Just basically jot down any questions you have or any things that are concerned with your thesis or the project that you're going to be working on with them. Maybe mention things like if you're concerned about pacing, that might be a good time to mention, little things that you would like them to maybe keep an eye out for when they start looking at your documents. But basically, it's just to get to know you that very first meeting.
And then to bounce off that, yes, definitely know your goals, or at least try to think of maybe an idea of goals. That's always really great, I feel like. And for the first year to the second year, so the first year I worked on a different project. I was working on like a high fantasy novel. And then that was my first semester, or quarter, I guess we called it, working on the package exchanges, and I found it really difficult to work on a high fantasy novel from scratch because of all the world building that's required. It became too much to try to work through the packet exchange through that, because I felt like my writing kept being like way ahead of where that was, like the project, especially when I kept getting feedback. So I actually switched projects in the summer, and so then my second year was very different from the first, just in the fact that I was very focused on my drafting for a historical fantasy novel, and that ended up going a lot smoother because I didn't have to do as much world building. So that was something that kind of was different for me from first year to second year, and that really helped me propel forward to the packet exchanges. And so, yeah, like goals, and then to prepare, just goals. Figure out what you want to do, what you're trying to accomplish, where you want to get to. I wanted to try to get through a whole draft before I graduated with my packet exchanges. And I mean, obviously I didn't get through a whole draft because it's only like so much you can get through, but I did get to the second draft by the end, towards the end of the program. So that was great. Well,
So, when I think about what should you expect with the packet exchange and how does the first year differ from the second year, I think the expectation is to try to give yourself grace enough to figure it out, to figure out how you're going to work it, because it's new. And so I would say when you first go in, expect to not know. Expect to, and you don't have to know. And just expect that it's going to be a little uncomfortable, at least the first two, until you actually have had that have engaged in the process and can find your footing some. So if you find yourself doing the first one, you're definitely going to be nervous. You're definitely going to be uncertain. You're definitely going to feel like you don't know what you're doing, and that's normal because it's new. So just breathe through that. And so that is what I would tell you to expect. Expect to not know what you're doing, and know that it's okay that you don't know what you're doing. It's not a big deal. And the second question is, I do agree that you should have goals, but I always say don't be married to any idea, because you just never know how it's going to change. So be, not to say don't be committed to your project, but also understand that you don't know as you go through this journey what's going to come up and what may spin you in a different direction. As Nicolette said, that she started in one place and ended up in another. So just expect the journey, expect it to be challenging, because it's going to be rewarding.
Yeah, I would say, very similar to what everyone else said. I think a lot of it's where you are in your journey writing, and that impacts your difference between first and second year. For me, I wanted to really work on my craft for the first year. So I chose to do short story collections. And I learned a lot about scene development through that. And then I had gone into the program with a historical fiction novel, and I rewrote that for the second year. And so using what I had really learned in the first year. So to me, that approach was helpful because it helped me reach what my personal goals were. I think to prepare for your packet exchange, you get out of it what you put into it, honestly. So if you hand in a really rough draft, I don't know how helpful it is in terms of the feedback you get. Like if you really want to get better, hand in the best you've got, because then you're getting feedback on the absolute best you've got. And that's, I think, how you really, really can grow and make the most of the exchanges, because they're really valuable. But you really need to submit your best work. So do it for yourself. Make time to really put into preparing it before you submit, and kind of know that going in.
Very true. Jamie's definitely right. You want to do lots of revisions and stuff, because that way they're not looking for small errors and spelling errors. They can look at your big picture developmental stuff and the stuff that help polish it and get it ready to start querying and submitting and all the good next steps you want to take. So I will put the questions I'm going to ask into the chat. Okay. How would you describe your relationship with your mentor? And what advice do you have to help students get the most out of the packet exchange process?
So I had a really excellent relationship with my mentor. And a big part of that was I was open. I'm not sure if you guys have entered into it yet, but the way the process works is that you get to choose, or you can have Nomi hook you up, right? She can have her matchmake for you. And I went through spending hours at least, like going through and reading everybody's website and all that, just to say, Nomi, pick me a partner. And it was just an excellent match. And there were a couple of things that were very important, that were very significant. There was a time where, like, I was a packet was due, and I just couldn't get this story together. Like I actually, my thesis was a short story collection, and I couldn't get the story. I had all this prose. I had 15 pages of prose, but I realized, like, I didn't have a story. I was going to give up, and I did several different things, and including changing the point of view. And literally, like, I just called her, and I was like, I'm not doing this. I don't have a packet to turn in. There's nothing I could do. I've done all I can. The end. And we had a meeting the next day. And, she was really kind. She was just like, very, just put it down and we'll talk about it tomorrow. And we met, and she, just had two suggestions that, like, were such aha moments. And that actually is one of my favorite stories. But, it's important to understand that they're there to help you, so you don't have to be ashamed when you're frustrated, when you're not getting something, when you want to give up. Like, I was so fortunate to have someone that I could share the gamut of those emotions with. When I was excited about a story, I could share with them. When I was affected with the story, when I was doubtful, no matter where I was in the process, I was able to share that. But it's important to communicate. Like, don't fall off the face of the earth. Don't hide if you can't meet the deadline. Like, keep open communication, because that's definitely going to help, solidify the relationship. And they're there to help you through it. They are definitely there to help you through it. So that is, I think that's, to me, the most important thing in establishing a relationship, is that, be truthful, when you can't meet the deadlines.
Yeah. So my mentor was Kelly Krieg. I had a bit of a rocky start at first. Part of it was the project, part of it was getting used to basically the exchanges and like what that really is going to mean. And also I was probably like 75% of the way through my first draft. And I was starting from the beginning of my draft for the packets. So my writing was like way ahead of what I was actually submitting, basically, which was really, really, really hard to deal with the feedback, because it was Like, and then I would get feedback, and then I'd be doing it in my active drafting, like what I had received as feedback. I'd be like updating and like making sure I was doing it better. But then, I would turn in another draft that was right after that segment that I'd gotten feedback on. And then I would just get repeated feedback for obvious reasons, right? Because my changes are way in the future of my draft as opposed to where I was submitting. And that's why like switching my projects really helped me because I was closer. Like I had really bridged the gap. So I finished that other first draft and then I switched first drafts and I started working on the other one as a first draft. And so like I got to keep my packets a lot closer and tighter, which really helped me like be able to internalize this feedback, get this feedback, and like work on it. But so my rocky start, I was like a little frustrated with some of it because I was like frustrated that the process wasn't like working. And so like I had this moment between the spring and the summer where I was like, what do I do? Like, I think I should switch projects, or like, do I need to switch packet instructors? Or is there an issue between us? And then like, there was kind of this like moment, I talked to Nomi a little bit about it, and it kind of like, she was like, Kelly's great. And I was like, yeah, she seems great. I don't know, I'm scared. And then my relationship with Kelly after that moment, like whenever I switched and after I talked to Nomi and we moved forward and kind of like got out some of I'm frustrated that there's like this constant repeating of things that I feel like have already been pretty driven home. And so like that was like really an issue and something I learned where like I should have been communicating more with my packet instructor about like how I was really interpreting and internalizing the feedback. Like, and part of that's like hard to deal with just in general, but like that was like one of the bigger things that I learned during the exchanges. And that really bettered my relationship with my instructor because Kelly is great and I got amazing feedback and my writing has significantly improved from these packet exchanges. And by the end of it, I've been sad. I've been missing it. It's like we've almost not had it for a whole year and it's been kind of a hole in your life a little bit. But I mean, it was nice to take a breather after that. So advice, don't be afraid to talk to them of like genuinely and like really express yourself. And if you don't feel comfortable like talking to them about how you're feeling, maybe you should need a new person because like most of them should be pretty cool. I've heard really good things about most of the instructors. So, and I think they get it because they're writers. So I don't know. If you're having issues, talk to Nomi at least, or a person, or an alumni. We're all here. So
yeah, I think that I felt like I had I had two different mentors. They were great. They were different, but they were great. I'm also a teacher, and I teach teachers, so I'm very used to giving criticism and getting it because it's an important part of the process. And I think that becomes part of they're there to support you. They're there to help you grow. Sometimes I'd get my feedback and I'd have to take a couple days before I could look at it honestly. And which I think we're talking about critique next, so I'll hold that. But your mentor's there to support you. Definitely be honest about your goals. And what you need from them, and understand that they're really there to help you. I feel like that's and be forthright. If you're not going to get something to them, communicate with them. I think that's really how you're going to grow that relationship.
Hi, JD Mile here. Sorry to interrupt. I wanted to thank you for tuning in and to let you know that this episode of Craft Chat Chronicles has been brought to you by Heart's Gambit, my debut novel. It's available for pre-order right now at barnesandnoble.com. What is Heart's Gambit, you ask? It's about two time-traveling families, one cursed magical duel, and the pair of star-crossed lovers who might break the cycle if they don't break each other first. If you love the time travel romance of Outlander and the lush, haunting magic of the Night Circus, this is the book for you. Pre-order Heart's Gambit today at barnesandnobles.com. And grab your copy when it hits shelves on February 3rd, 2026, wherever books are sold. Again, pre-order Heart's Gambit today at barnesandnoble.com and grab a copy when it hits store shelves on February 3rd, 2026. And while you're at it, don't forget to buy a copy of today's guest book and support their projects as well. Support authors, support bold stories. Now, back to Craft Chat Chronicles. Let's get chatty.
Agreed. Communication is very important. I had an awesome relationship with both of my mentors. I had Sadiqa Johnson and I had Heather Christie, and they were both fabulous. They were very different, and I like that. Like, Sadiqa gave me a lot of developmental feedback. For example, in my story, in the first chapter, they were looking for someone. And then she was like, well, as a reader, we'd be more invested if the person went missing on the page. And then I rewrote the first chapter and I was like, oh, I love this. This is like 10 times better than what I had. She's right. Because they're more attached to the journey of finding the person if they know who she is. So, and then Heather gave me much more detailed notes. Like if I, for example, mentioned a bush, she'd question what kind. Or if I mentioned a table, is it mahogany? Is it cedar? You know what I mean? Rather than just saying brown or something like that. And it made it more specific and more visual. So I felt like she upped my scene setting game a lot. So I really liked the feedback I got from my professors. There is critique, and honestly, critique is going to be part of your whole writing journey. You're going to get edit letters. So this is practice for that. It's not always easy. Sometimes you have to breathe, take a moment to digest it before responding. But it's just all meant to polish the work and make you a better writer. And what advice do I have for you guys? Enjoy it. Because honestly, in the real world, once you're outside of the program, you don't always have that feedback. You don't always have the beta readers. People, are supportive, but everybody has their lives and their own stuff going on. So it's not as readily available once you're beyond the program. So while you're there, even if you're like frustrated, even if you're like, I got to make this deadline and I have other stuff going on, enjoy it. You paid to be here. Try to get the most out of it, use it to shine your writing and polish it as good as you can, and just take your time. You don't want to be rushing through it because then you're not really going to get the best out of the program. So take your time, revise, and enjoy it.
I kept the same packet instructor, and her name was Rachel Paston, and I loved her. She was absolutely wonderful. So we're going to talk about feedback. So, the packet exchange experience is actually sort of your first experience with an editor. Has there been a time when your mentor suggested a change that you adamantly did not agree with? And if so, how did you deal with it?
I feel like with all feedback, you take some of it and some you don't, So I would say there were probably times, I don't remember them. I'm certain there were, but I feel like with all feedback, I think that you take what resonates with you. And I mean, if you ever saw that, did you ever see that meme that has like, I took all the feedback, and then it's like a pizza with a turkey on it,
right,
M&Ms, and like it becomes not your story. And the goal is to grow as a writer enough that you're able to feel confident in making those choices and know that you'll second guess yourself forever. But I think that that's okay. You're still the author.
True. And sometimes the solution might not be what you want to do, but sometimes they're pointing it out because it is a real issue, but there might be a better way or a more personalized to you way that you could resolve that problem. You know what I mean? Like if something bores them, you might not necessarily have to cut it, but maybe condensing it or maybe delivering it in a slightly different way. Honestly, with that scene, I was telling you guys that I revised based on Sadiqa's feedback. When I first heard it, Like when I first read it, that was one of those things where I had to read it, digest, wait a few days, then respond. Because I didn't want to do the work. I loved my initial scene, and I was like, no, no. I already had the whole story planned this way. This would cause a lot of changes. But once I did it, like I said, I felt like it worked, and I felt like she was completely right, and it made it much better.
Yeah, I think one of my favorite things I learned from my time during the MFA program was just the idea that, like, if somebody's calling something out, that there's probably a problem. I wouldn't necessarily go with exactly what they tell you to do, but you should probably sit around and think about it. And I think one of the biggest things I learned was, like, how to not take any feedback personally, basically, because, I mean, at the end of the day, it's not really personal. Might feel like it sometimes, especially if you're attached to something. But now, like, after the program, I started doing copywriting full time, and one of my coworkers has been an editor for like 20 years, so I feel so fortunate to work with her. But she's basically like, oh yeah, she was trying to be all like fluffy with me and like, oh, I hope this doesn't like, I hope, yeah, you did a good job here or there. And I'm like, I actually don't care. I don't remember what I wrote anymore. Like I'm so detached from what I write that, like, now it's like a lot easier for me to just be like, oh yeah, okay, I'll just change it without really thinking too hard about it. I think that answered the question. I hope it did.
Absolutely. And so how do you deal with the emotional toll? How do you deal with, you get the feedback that, Nicolette, you definitely spoke about how you were getting feedback. It was this push-pull and you thought you were doing it right. And so how did that make you feel? And not so much as how did you handle it with the instructor or with Nomi, but how did you handle it with yourself? How did you self-care yourself? Give yourself self-care.
Yeah, I had to learn a lot of self-care during the program, but just in general, because I didn't always have a really good work-life balance. And so I learned work-life balance through this because I had full-time work, and then I was also trying to write a novel or two, and then I was also in school. So that was kind of a lot at the same time, which if you let it, that will completely consume you. But I tried not to. I mean, there was things I wasn't doing, like, walking, going outside. I tried to. I got better at it towards the end of the program. Like the last year, I was doing a little bit better, but I was in therapy during the program too. So I had like a lot of weird self-care things going on, I guess, or very normal self-care things, I guess. But as far as like the emotional toll of dealing with, hearing that maybe what you think is good isn't good, that wasn't really my problem, actually. I didn't really care about that. It was more about just like getting repeated feedback and just the general annoyance that I feel whenever I'm like reading the same thing like 50 times. I'm just like, I get it. Like, so mine was again more an issue of like not communicating. But yeah. And so then I guess like a different emotional toll was more about like having forgiveness for myself and grace with myself for like how much I was able to write in a day, and like keeping consistent, but also recognizing, I might only be able to do 200 words today or 250 words today, and maybe that's okay. And maybe I'm doing enough, right? It's like, and then sometimes I could get 500 words, but I never really got above that daily. So that was like what I could do at the time. So it was more about just having grace with myself.
I think the responding to the critique is you really need to just take time sometimes to digest it, or else for me, my emotions get heightened and I'm not able to really hear what they're telling me. So setting it aside, like looking at it, crying a little bit if that's what happens, but feeling it because it's part of the process, and then setting it aside. And sometimes it would take me a couple days. It's still, when I get feedback, I sometimes go and I glance at it. And then if I'm really going to start doing something with it, I need to have a few days to process it. And then I can go back to it. And for me, I had I was able to do a novel that second year because I did 60 pages, or at least I made. She was really good, but again, I had it almost complete. I had written it, and then I was rewriting what I had rewritten several times already. So it was easier for me to do that amount because I wasn't starting from scratch. I was rewriting. It just went much faster. And I think that the feedback that I was getting was really helpful because I was far enough along in the process. But my short stories were pretty organic. I wrote them while I was there, while I was in writing them actually to submit them. So I think that was really great. I in terms of learning the craft and some of the nuances of writing that I hadn't been paying attention to.
Mm-hmm. I think if as you probably by definitely your second one, for me, I started to feel where the problem was before my instructor gave me the feedback. So I knew, I could kind of sense where it needed to be strengthened there. And so the feedback for me was okay, we're on the same page. So I did, that was for the most part, that's how it worked with the feedback. Feedback is that I knew where I needed the help at, and then I would say to her, I think I definitely need you to pay attention to A, B, C, and D. And then she would be like, yep, A, B, C, and D were the issues. So, as you get further into your project, as you get more comfortable with your writing, as you learn more craft, on some level, you're going to be able to pick up, where the holes are. And that makes you feel better. It made me feel better.
We should probably move on to Nicolette because that way we can do that Nicolette's questions, and then we'll have time for Q&A from everyone before we wrap up.
You took the words right out of my mouth. So on to publishing and beyond the packet exchange. What is the biggest thing you learned from developing your thesis and working with your packet instructor that helped beyond the MFA in your development towards becoming a professional writer? I have a second question, but that was a really long one. And then also, have you made efforts towards, or do you intend to work towards publishing your thesis work? Jamie, it seems appropriate you go first.
Yeah, my thesis just came out as a novel. So, and I would say that, it was just a few days ago, so it's very early. But I think it was really helpful in learning how an editor writer relationships works. Mm-hmm. And it's a very professional relationship. There becomes you have a responsibility and they have a responsibility, and to understand how that works and that it's a professional relationship in terms of you're accepting that feedback, you're appreciating it. It's not always going to come exactly how you want it packaged. And that's dealing with humans. So I think you start to realize that that's part of the process, and trying to not let the package, the wording that they use, they're going through pretty quickly in your work. And sometimes I've worked with a lot of different editors at this point, and sometimes people say things nicer than others. And it's recognizing that when you're going through something quickly and they're making that comment, that they're being professional and they're helping you, right? And so not to take it personal and shut down, and to really just stay open to it, and to allow that to communicate and take that into your work if it's something that's going to be helpful for you. I thought that was really helpful for me because it's a vulnerable position, and so having them give you that feedback can be hard. But it helped me understand how important it is to get feedback, and to get feedback on something through. I was really fortunate because I did it start to finish. And so I was able to have the same person really critiquing my work from start to finish. And unlike a beta reader who's reading you and giving you some general feedback, she really went through and we got into developmental stuff and I just thought I thought it was very helpful, and it was very much, I feel like, mimics a lot of the professional way of how you hone a novel.
Very true, very true. I guess I would say the biggest thing I learned from developing my thesis and working with the packet exchange instructor that is still helpful is responding to an edit letter, because I went through line by line, responding to her inline comments and the feedback in the edit letter, and, sticking to deadlines. Because when you're writing for yourself, you can take you can take your time with everything. When you're writing to deadline, you have to get it in on time, and I'm dealing with deadlines now. Do I intend to make efforts toward publishing my thesis work? I do. I'm actually still tinkering with my thesis work. So yeah, I'm gonna do another revision or two before, moving any further with trying to get it published. But yeah, I think it has promise. I think it's much better now than it was before I started the program, and I think I'm a better writer because of the feedback and because of the critique.
For me, the biggest thing I learned, and it's to piggyback off of what the others said, is just learning how the editing process will work, because that's pretty much what it is. And understanding, even myself and how I work under deadline, under pressure, So you sort of get a feel for who you are and who you will be as a writer on the business side. So that I took that away from it, and I'm definitely going to and working on publishing my thesis project.
Well, you already published like a short story, I thought, from that, didn't you?
No, it actually wasn't from there. That was
okay.
That was a story that I did in France, actually.
Oh, okay, that's what it was. Okay. I'll go really quick because we still have a few minutes, actually. So the biggest thing I learned actually was how long everything's going to take. I am not in a rush. That's what I learned from everything. I have both the first drafts I worked on during the program are now second drafts. So I'm actually midway through the high fantasy novel I put away. I'm actually halfway through that second draft, and I already finished the other one's second draft from that I mostly worked on to the packet exchanges. So that means like my stuff is taking forever. And I learned that through the packets and exchanges because I could only move so fast, and then I can only make it better so fast I'd rather it take time than not. So I'm like, okay, I'm learning. Here I go. I'll keep learning. I'll keep going. I'll keep trying. I'll keep getting better. I'm not. So there's no fast track. I mean, you can try, but good luck. And then, so as I said, I'm working towards it. So yes, I will publish it eventually, but maybe very long time from now. And so our last thing that we're going to run through really quick is just a little bit talking about the alumni community. I do a lot of the communications work, so I'm actually like the alumni communications head with Anthony Chatfield, who was, I think he graduated with you guys?
Okay.
Yeah, so I work with him a lot, and we basically send all the communications out. That's pretty much it. So I get to know a lot of what happens, and that's really great because it keeps me tapped into the community without really having to do anything too crazy. So we started Substack, and that also gave me new skills. So it's been a pretty good time.
Does anyone have any questions for us?
No, it's okay, Naomi. I can wait after you.
No, I was just gonna pretend to have a question.
Okay. My question is, so everyone kept their packet exchange mentor from throughout the program, correct?
I didn't.
No.
I
did.
Okay. You kept yours. What about?
I am the only one who kept the same one.
No, it's me and Mo. So.
Okay, Jamie, how many did you have?
I had two. I started off with short stories, so I had Brandy, and then I was working on a historical fiction novel, so I had Heather Webb. So that was just what the genre that they were known for. So it was just more helpful.
Okay. And each term, do you just tell Naomi, hey, we're having a good time, I want to keep the same one, or do you go,
Yeah, she sent out a questionnaire, right? Or wasn't there? There was a time where you could answer that. You could.
Yeah.
I'll pop in and answer that as well. So, I love when you guys communicate with me when there is a problem, or when there's not a problem, but that you want to make a switch because you're switching genre of what you're working on. But I like when you tell me that, like, even before you start thinking about it, because our quarters go by so quickly. So if you wait until late in, let's just say you have your matches, and then you start working with a person in the spring, and something just doesn't feel right. Like, this doesn't feel like the relationship that you want to keep up with throughout your MFA, but you don't tell me until week 10 because you felt badly about it, or you didn't get to it, or whatever. That's really too late for me to make a switch for you for the next quarter, because your instructor will already have their contracts to do that packet exchange relationship with you the next quarter. So the earliest you can tell me that you would like to make a switch, or you're thinking about it, or you want to talk about it, don't hesitate, okay? Because it can be too late to do it for the next quarter. If it's weak, like right now, what week are we in? We're in week 2, right? And I got an email today from Nicole Pearson, our advisor, saying, Nomi, please confirm the matchups for summer. Okay, now you just started your packet exchange relationships, and I already have to confirm them for the summer. So don't hesitate, right? Like, if you're even thinking that this might not be something that you want to continue for whatever reason, like it's not a good personality match, or like Jamie, I want to work with a writer in a different genre, then tell me, like, ahead, before you even started to formulate that in your head. And I will assume everything's fine. If I don't hear from you, I'm keeping you with that packet exchange instructor. Sorry, my dogs are so loud. Other questions for me or for our wonderful, wonderful alumni?
There's a question in the chat from Liz. It says, have any of your PACT instructors worked with you after graduation? Do you still have a relationship? I know that I think her name's Cheryl. I think she graduated with you, Jamie? Was it Cheryl? No, maybe. She went to highlights one time. Silver.
Karen,
sorry. Karen, she actually continued working on packets after. But I do think it is like you obviously want to pay them because they're not just going to do it for free.
And actually, like, developmental editing is more expensive than how our packet exchange instructors get paid. So, like, for our packet exchange instructors, it adds up quarter by quarter. But if you're going to send somebody a whole book, that can be thousands of dollars for them to developmental edit for you. This is something that it's always good to talk to your instructor about before you graduate. Do you do developmental editing? Is this a relationship that we could continue? What would it cost me? Now, since you already have a relationship with them, it's possible they would give you a break on their making their prices. So that's something, that's worthwhile having a conversation about.
so I've been battling some health issues, so I haven't did much writing since I've graduated last year. But my packet instructor, we do reach out to each other to say hi periodically. She does check in when I publish my story. I definitely sent it to her. So we're definitely friendly. We're on friendly terms. And if I definitely, when I get to the point of needing an editor, I would definitely reach out to her.
I'm on pretty good terms with both of my packet exchange professors too. I don't like daily or monthly communicate with them or anything like that, but Sadiqa came back and did the craft chat for us, and then Heather Christie did 2 craft chats for me on 2 different things.
There are people who will blurb your books one day, right? Like this is part of your professional network.
Yeah.
I
And when Sadiqa was coming, I'm sorry. And when Sadiqa was coming down, she was like, when she was coming to Georgia, she was like, if you can come by, stop by. And I was very frustrated and sad that I couldn't, but I wish I could have, because it would have been great to see her.
I was just gonna say, I definitely keep up with my packet instructor's books. She published one last year, or was it this year? No, last year. And I was like, congrats on your book. So I keep up, like, I'm not the best at keeping up sometimes, but I definitely told her, I was like, whenever I have it at a stage where I'm really ready, I was definitely planning to reach out, and she was super into that. So, but also, like, I mean, that makes sense. Partially, but she's just really great, so I definitely would. She'd be like my first pick.
Naomi, do either of them still do packet exchanges, Sadiqa or Heather Christie?
Sadiqa doesn't. She taught 2 classes last fall for us. She taught 2 dialogue classes, but not packets at this point. And Heather also isn't doing them at the moment. And I imagine both of them might do them again sometime in the future.
Okay. Because they were really great, so I was going to recommend them.
Something I want to mention is just the incredible work that our alumni committee is doing. You guys are so incredible. Craft chats, writing accountability meetups, professional development chats, highlight retreats, a newsletter shouting out people's accomplishments, and more. Like, it's incredible. So please, this program sadly goes by in a snap, but we'll never let you go. So please already think about coming to alumni events like this and getting involved with the alumni organization when you graduate, because we really do aim to be a lifelong community. And you're looking at the people here who are helping to really make that happen in a really sophisticated way. Also, the Barnes and Noble readings is our alumni committee. I could go on and on. You guys are amazing. Yeah.
Thank you. And if you guys want help with your packets and stuff like that, we have key groups and stuff like that that'll be coming soon too. So we've got a lot of things in progress and things already in motion. So definitely, reach out.
Okay, well, it looks like we're coming to an end. Takeaway here is, if something, if you want to have a conversation with me, you know where to find me, and you know that I'm happy to chat and help make these relationships really work for you. I curate these relationships really carefully. I take into account your feedback in terms of who you'd like to work with. I think about if I think that's a good idea, and then I try and make it happen. But you're never alone in these relationships. So please know that you can always reach out to me for any support, and to our wonderful alumni to continue this conversation.
Definitely. If you guys need any help or you need anything, reach out.
And like Nicolette said, have grace with yourself. Be patient with yourself, and definitely take care. And we're here.
And enjoy the ride. It's fun, and you're going to miss it when you're done. So enjoy it.
And it goes fast.
Very.
Okay. On that note, bye, everybody.
Bye. Good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Good to see you again, Jenna, and everybody who I've seen before.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
That wraps up today's Craft Chat Chronicles with JD Mayo. Thanks for joining us. If you liked the episode, please comment, subscribe, and share. For show notes, writing workshops, and tips, head to jdmayo.com. That's jdmayo.com. While you're there, join JD's mailing list for updates, giveaways, and more.
Are you struggling to keep your writing organized? Trust me, I've been there. I want to introduce you to Scrivener, the ultimate program for all writers. You can outline, draft, and even edit all in one place. Whether it's your next novel, screenplay, or even thesis, Scrivener helps you stay focused and finish strong. Scrivener adapts to your workflow. From your first draft to the final edit, it's a writer's secret weapon. Click on the link below and get started on your Scrivener writing journey today.